Welcome to the Purposeful Grind Podcast. It's episode 7. I'm pretty excited about today's guest. I've got David Morris, the owner and creator of QBCountry. And David, welcome to the Purposeful Grind Podcast. Thank you for coming on.
JC, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to learn more about what you're doing and be a part of this.
Man, I love it, man. Hey, first off, how did you get started in quarterback country? How did that all formulate? Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, so I grew up a big family, 6 kids, and back then Dad wouldn't let us watch TV, and so all we ever did, we were just in the yard, and I had 4 brothers, and so we just always were playing football in the yard. And so at a young age, I kind of fell in love with football and fell in love with the sport. And, you just loved being on that in the front yard on a big green grass field. It was kind of one of the first places that I remember kind of just saying, like, man, that's my little environment,
Yeah.
And so growing up, football became the thing I loved to do. And I was fortunate to play in the SEC at Ole Miss after my high school days. And I graduated in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got out, I got into real estate. And it was a great decision at the time. I learned a lot about business and all the things that I needed to know. But when I started training, I guess very much just casually, kind of on the side, dads would call me and say, "Hey, would you mind spending some time with my son? He's a quarterback, and I know you played and this and that." That's kind of how it happened. And for me, again, it was an excuse to go back on that field, and go back on the field that where my first love and passion kind of became real. And so, and so over the years, I'd get a couple more people. I never really thought it would be much more than a side gig until I got further away from football. And then I said, you know what, man, this real estate thing's cool and all, but like my heart's not in it, And
Man. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
when I got, so every year got busier with it. It became a big side gig probably in 2009. I started QBCountry in 2010. And then I went full time. My first year full time was actually 2012. And so, again, this has been a long go at it for me. Best decision of my life was to go down this route. It was not easy, but it's been great, man.
I tell people all the time, a lot of people question me or hit me up on IG and ask me about, how did I get started and starting your own company. And I tell them, if you're in it for the money, it's going to be, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
It's not going to be.
If you're in it for the money, you're going to go broke initially, right?
Yeah. The first 5 years of having my own company, Full Court Solutions, I'm still on ground zero of being broke, owing back taxes and all that kind of stuff. It's not easy, man. You got to think about all that money that you got to get. You may take money, but you also got to give it right back to the government. But
Well, and so it's really about the love of the game, though.
Absolutely.
Right? The money thing has never been a priority to us. To me,
right.
I believe in quality of life, and man, this is part of the way I have quality of life. I get to do what I love to do, and I personally, I kind of thought it was one of the only things I ever thought I was kind of good at, and so it's easy for me to it's easy for me to make the decision. Yeah,
it's the love, man. It's the love of the game, and I love that about that. I've watched IG and I watched a couple of videos just to brush up on who I'm talking with, man, and we'll get into some of the things I saw. But my first question, I guess, really is, did you coach any high school or college football, or you just went straight from the real estate right into QB?
Yeah, so what I did was I knew that in about 2008, I knew that I was getting a little bit I was missing football too much, and so I had a choice to make, and I knew I wanted to get back in football. I didn't necessarily want to be in the NFL or college. I wanted to really kind of be a little bit more available to my family. and just, I knew that would probably take me, to places and do, different things that I just kind of didn't want to give up. I wanted to really be around for my, as much as I could for my children and whatnot. Obviously that I just had children, several years back, but I knew that the way I was building my life, I kind of wanted to, okay, I think high school coaching was kind of the thing. So I did dabble in high school coaching.
Yep.
Same time I was working real estate, high school coaching, and training quarterbacks. And I was like, I was busy. It's too busy, right? And so, I talked to smart people and read things like, hey, you can't be good at three things, And
no. Facts.
It's hard to be good at one thing. And so what I ended up doing, I was like, okay, I'm in the high school coaching thing to figure out if I'm going to high school coach or do independent training. And there's so much to love about being a college coach, an NFL coach, a high school coach in that community. And I mean, it's a big part of the American culture. It's a big part of, raising young men. It's a big part of my life. And so the natural inclination was like, oh, high school football is the deal for me. But when I was in independent training and high school football, coaching at the time, one of the things I loved about the independent space was I was training people from all different communities and all different backgrounds and all different, places, across state lines. And there was something really cool about the ability to bring people together that otherwise were just competitors or maybe not even know each other.
Exactly.
And that thing is kind of the thing. That's the thing, kind of similar to the locker room. You see these things come together and these relationships form that otherwise wouldn't have been there. And that's kind of where my eyes opened up big, and I started saying, this is cool, man. We're bringing people together from different communities, private, public,
Absolutely.
Black, white, all across, the country. And so there was something really cool about that to me that, that said, okay, I know I'm a coach, and I know, or a teacher, you put it that way, but what is my classroom? And so my classroom ultimately, is this independent type teaching environment.
Hey, I mean, we're teachers by habit, we're teachers by nature. I mean, not by habit, but well, it is a habit for us, but we're teachers. And I think, for me on my side, basketball, I think you hit it on the head is like, bringing guys together and competing. There's nothing like that atmosphere. There's nothing like, for you, it's on the gridiron. For me, it's on a court. It's nothing that I can't compare it. I've worked in I worked in a business office before. I was fortunate enough to play professionally over in Australia. Came back home, had to find myself, try to find what am I going to do after basketball, and being on the court and teaching it. I knew it from the start that was going to happen for me, man. And I did similar to your background. I did the high school thing for a second. I was an 8-year collegiate coach on the women's side. Then I was a video coordinator in the NBA and WNBA. And then, a good friend of mine said, hey, why don't you just start your own business, start going back to training and doing stuff that you love. And there's nothing like that. Nothing could ever, for me, it's I don't even call it work.
That's kind of where it's
not work,
Yeah.
It's just what we do.
It's like, so it's like when you get on the court, you're brought back probably to your childhood, and I know for me, when I hit the field, it literally, that field was my first love, man.
Yeah.
And so that football was my first love. And when you're in that space or in that environment, there's something special that happens, and it doesn't have to be complex. It can be as simple as you and another kid and one ball, you know what I mean? But there's something powerful and strong there. And there's something that kind of feeds my itch, and more than that, kind of feeds my soul.
Yeah. Yeah. So, my next question would be, for me, the toughest part for me is starting that new business and start going out and branching on my own was finding gym time. Obviously, football, the luxury you guys have is outdoors, but you still have to go onto a field or whatnot. Was that relatively difficult for you, or did you already have a lot of, because, as a business owner, you got to deal with insurance and the kids and liabilities and all that kind of stuff. Was that really difficult for you to get a hold of?
Do you mean to find your space?
Yeah. Finding space to train for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's such a big piece.
Right.
And it's one thing to have, I had a field, man, just an incredible field. And I walk past it almost every morning. Me and my wife walk our kids to school, where we try to, in several days a week, we'll walk past this field. It's on Spring Hill College campus. It's a Jesuit college up here, right across the street from my house, basically. And man, my mom went to school there. My mom and dad were married there. My wife went to school at Spring Hill College. We were married there. I saw her for the first time at the chapel there. And there's a beautiful couple of fields on that campus that man, have come to be that place, my little heaven, And so literally from 2003, so I trained there a lot in high school, in college. When I came back, I just go to that field, and that was my place to get away all by myself, get in my zone, do my drops, throw the nets, just to get better. Nobody was training me. I was out there by myself half the time. So out of school, I come back to that same field that meant a lot to my family. And it wasn't until 2018 that I got a facility. And so literally I was 6-7 years in full time on this field at Spring Hill College. And now it was I had an arrangement with the college, and it was great. But I had an office, but it was several miles away. And now we have a facility, where we can do everything in one stop. But there's no question that was a challenge. I always say in this world, when people ask me about the training space, it's like, you don't build a building and then build a business.
Right.
You build a business and then you build a building.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so like for me, I knew about overhead. I knew about how costly that stuff is because I was in real estate, and I knew that I saw people make big mistakes. It was in space, right? And so I knew that all I really needed initially was a field, and and I had my office and stuff, but that field is where we're going to get it done. Now, when you want to go next level and really kind of answer everything in a one-stop shop, that's when I knew, kind of to go next level was one of those things that we had to do.
Man, hey, I mean, for me, that's the toughest part. You like you said, I've been scrounging around. I have a facility that I train out of, but it's also very difficult because there's other sports training out of that same facility now. Yeah. Like volleyball, and sometimes they have indoor soccer depending on the weather, and it's just real tough to find space. But at the end of the day, I can still always go outside if I want to. It's depending on the public park and whatnot. But
it's a challenge, though. It's one of the challenges in our space.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopefully, my end game is to have something that you have, open my own facility and bring all the guys that I've trained to that facility. And hopefully, I think the name, like you said, you build your brand first, and then the building will come later a little bit. If I'm bringing on my inner Kevin Costner. With the, you build it and they'll come.
Yeah,
so.
That's it. Yeah. But you don't want to have that. You don't want to just let the dream go first. I guess that was the field of dreams, right? So what you really got to do is make sure, you got to make sure there's evidence and data that says, we can do this, and this is what we can afford, and this is how we can also, make money and have different product offering and stuff. And so it's always a challenge, and it's one of those things that I think is one of the hardest question marks in the independent world is that facility, right?
Yeah. How did you get incorporated with I saw you branched out and you're up in New Jersey now. How did that come about?
Yeah, man. Honestly, it's interesting. So at Ole Miss, I played with Eli Manning. He came in the year after me, and he ruined my football career. Because of Eli, I was a career second stringer. No, he's one of my best friends. We were 4-year travel roommates. I'm in New York several times a year just to go see him and be with him and visit and train. And so I started training him probably in call it 2009 or 10, here and there. And then so what ended up happening is every time I would go up to train him, we would be either at Rutgers or, a little place, kind of around Summit or Chatham and New Jersey. And then, other different fields around there. And so towards the end of his career, I guess really the last couple of years, he started working out in a performance facility called the Annex, where Mickey Bruckner runs the Annex. Well, Mickey is more of a baseball background guy, overhead athlete, performance coach, and he's really good. He's really sharp. Eli started working out with Mickey for hip mobility, shoulder mobility, arm care, arm strength, all these things. And ultimately, what ended up happening is when I went up there to train Eli one time, he said, we're doing a lot of performance stuff too. And Eli knew that because we're always talking about arm health and prevention of injuries and arm strength and, just the tying in, your whole body and making it complement the other parts. And so one time he called Mickey out to come watch us train. And afterwards, Mickey was training Eli in the weight room. And so me and Mickey just started talking, and we were on the East Coast a little bit. We're in Charlotte. We're kind of creeping up. And so I was like, man, it just makes a lot of sense for us to be in Jersey. So it really, Eli Manning, it was kind of the one that brought me and Mickey together. And now we have a QBCountry location through Mickey at the Annex in Jersey. And so we, again, we have his facility and then he's learning a lot about football and I'm learning a lot about baseball. Right. And there's a lot of similarities. And then, and now we're, a buddy, a kid I've trained for a long time, Daniel Jones, who is a buddy. I feel like he's my brother. Now Daniel, trains with Mickey too. And just, there's a lot there. Right. So there's one of these things that's like, Eli Manning, brings, me and Mickey together and, and Eli's so thrilled about how his body felt and all these things. And now Daniel, the guy who, ends up, gonna be the Giants quarterback now is training where Eli was training, right? And it just says a lot about, the type of person Eli is, but also the humility he has. And then honestly, Daniel trains down here a lot. When he's up there, he's training with Mickey, so it gives us a lot of answers. And it provides a place and, a spot for Daniel to go in the off season.
That's awesome. When I was training, doing some pre-draft workouts, which is really what I've been known for lately. I've been pretty successful over the past 5 years of training some high-level NBA prospects. And a place I went out to in California, in Santa Barbara, was man, why did I just forget the name? Jesus, I don't forgot about it. But they were really big on technology, with the sports performance. And you're talking about Mickey and the stuff that he was doing. I saw him doing a lot of shoulder stuff, strengthening the quarterback's shoulders. How big is does he use any kind of technology so they could, show, the strength of the arm or anything like that? I don't know how big that is in your field right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is technology that can measure mobility, flexibility, strength. But for the most part, the data that we capture would be, there is some digital aspect to it, and there is some technology aspect to it. If you want to go there, you can at several of our locations, we have access to biomechanical, labs where you're essentially going in and they're putting the dots all over, and you can really see mechanics. And so there is some of that.
That's what I was looking for.
But I mean, I think initially, what Mickey's really good at is just the initial assessment, understanding scap mobility, understanding internal external rotations. Are there any limitations? Has there been any prior injuries where, is there a stress fracture in his L5 that would then therefore, have, make part of his body, kind of weak. And so therefore there may be some corrective exercises we can do. And so Mickey's really gotten good at, and we're doing a good job of it down here too, trying to diagnose where a kid is before we get going with them. And then we kind of have a starting point in which we can build from and trying to, help grow him into a more complete athlete.
That's perfect, man. It's beautiful. So, here goes the question. We talked about, you brought up Eli Manning, which, I was going to bring that in later.
Okay.
how is it from going with, you mainly, so it sounds like you mainly started out with a lot of high school young athletes, and then, obviously getting into pro athletes. When did you start getting to train, other pro quarterbacks? Obviously Eli, you guys had a relationship and he trusted you to help him get better. Was he your biggest advocate for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wasn't ready early on to train the bigs. And I don't think in your mind you're ever ready to train the bigs. In a way, it's like because we kind of freak ourselves out and we forget these guys are just human beings and they're talented, but they need coaching too. And so over a period of time, we did learn more. I did get better. I became a better coach over the years for sure. My first NFL, I guess, athlete, to work with was a guy named Matt Barkley from USC.
Yeah, I know Matt Barkley. I remember him.
He was, yeah. So really, besides Eli, it was Matt Barkley, and then that was in 2012. And so Matt was doing draft prep, and he was coming off AC separation, I believe, and so he was rehabbing in Birmingham, and I was doing this training. And then the following year, a guy I've trained since 8th grade, AJ McCarron, was coming out of Alabama, and similarly, AJ had not an injury, but just something he needed to rehab in his shoulder. And so we were doing that. And then, so really kind of Matt Barkley, AJ McCarron, were the first two NFL quarterbacks I spent time with outside of Eli. And now we have about 12 NFL guys. And, we've had 8 or 9 guys drafted in the last 6 years, and been fortunate. But really, the thing I'm proud of about our guys that are in the NFL is most of them are guys we trained since high school or earlier.
Yeah.
And so our model ultimately is we'll never chase NFL guys. I mean, we're just not in that. I'm not in that game.
Right.
What I believe is we're going to help, train kids, youth, middle school, high school. By default, we train hundreds of college quarterbacks because we've trained so many high school quarterbacks that grew up. By default, we're training a lot of NFL, not by default, but because they trust us and we have programs in place and we become better. We now train a good bit of NFL quarterbacks, and then really the future and the pipeline is what I'm so excited about. We're getting better as a staff in our high level training, our draft prep, and then our off season NFL prep. And then so we're in position to train these guys as good or better than anybody in the country at a high level. And so, but what's going to happen over the next 5 years is our pipeline is going to continue, and that's why I'm so excited. We got a strong pipeline, and we love those kids, and they trust us, and they love us, and we work hard. There's no fluff. I think that getting better is just a lot of commitment, a lot of hard work, and there's no nonsense, right? Yeah. We have fun, but there's we have purpose, and we have goals in mind, and the NFL thing is going to continue because we're training a lot of really good young ones.
Well, I mean, like you said, they're coming up your pipeline and they're going from college, and the college, some of them are going to turn into pros, man. How do you when you see a kid like that, like say AJ, or when you see him and you've had him at a young age, how do you know if he's got that it factor? What do you see in a kid? You're like, man, that kid's got it, man. He's going to be something special if he keeps on going. What's some of the things that you look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it earlier. The competitiveness is one of them. I think it goes on. If you have it's much more than just on the field. You know what I mean? It is in everything that kid does. The way he walks, you kind of see it. When he's on the basketball court, you see it. When he's in the weight room, you see it. When he's conditioning and doing sprints, you see it. So I mean, I think it is something that is a personality. It's a competitiveness. It's a clutch, poise factor. It's a confidence. But you do see it. It does stand out. But I don't know that you can peg it, just in a session or two. I think you really got to get to know that kid. But then, one of the things we do is we grade it. Like yesterday, I was looking at our list of 2021 quarterbacks that are still available. And one of our columns is it.
Right.
And yes or no, does he have it? And that's part of our grading scale. And look, man, I mean, ultimately you're it's an educated guess. I mean, like, what is it?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But I mean, it's something we really pay a lot of attention to, and we know that it's complex.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of both of what we do, man, is we get to groom kids at a young age, man, and watch them grow in their field and and at their craft, and that's, I mean, to me, that's the best part of what I do, is watching, like you said, finding if that kid's got that it factor, and just watching him or her just keep on progressing, and all of a sudden just becoming that much of a competitor, and channeling their inner, I call it their inner goat, man, their goat mentality, man. And a lot of kids want to be the greatest. So another question I have for you was, a lot of what we both do is based on footwork. I'm watching a lot of your videos and the quarterback and how he's scrambling. You got him jumping over things or shifting to the side. How big is footwork play into being a successful quarterback?
Yeah, man, it's big. I mean, we say base equals balance, equals accuracy, right? But we don't always
base equals balance equals accuracy.
Yeah, and look,
yeah,
I mean, that's kind of throwing a big net, right? I mean, that's not precise all the time.
Right.
And the reason it's not precise is because we don't play on balance all the time.
Right.
But if we're really trying to groom a young kid, balance is the most important thing below the hips, right?
Mm-hmm.
Above the hips is posture, right?
Right.
But I mean, like if the kid has feet that can be in position to throw from an alignment standpoint, from a balance standpoint, from ability to transfer energy, forward or rotationally, then ultimately he has a good foundation. What happens after that is there a pattern or sequence that is complementary, upper half and the lower half. And so the feet, are the beginning, are probably half of the equation on sequence. And so, as a guy drives to throw forward, is his body in position to have a transfer of energy that is efficient, and that is complementary, both upper and lower body. That's one part of it. The other part of it is he, when you're on balance, when you have base, when you have leverage, that's when you're most athletic. I mean, if I told you all the times I use basketball analogies, of base, I can, in my first session with the kid, fifth grade, I said, hey, have you ever played basketball? Yes, sir. I will give me break down and give me a basketball defense position. He breaks down. I look at his feet and I say, hey, look at your feet. And he looks at them. I'm like, all right, now just, stand up. Okay. Now give me your posture. Give me your posture. Well, there you go. Now you're at the top of your drop. The base is similar. So he can relate it to that balance and the power of balance. And then there's, dropping and moving in the pocket and throwing on the run. And, what we teach is we can't walk through it perfectly. We'll never be able to do it full speed. Right. Yeah. And so I'm a believer that in our drops and with our feet, with our mechanics, we really got to be able to walk through it. And then we'll go ideal speed. Right. And then we'll go, kind of up tempo. And we'll go worst case scenario, contested and all these things. And so from a footwork standpoint, they have to understand how important balance is, because that's ideal. In an ideal pocket, a kid's going to be on balance, but he's not always on balance. And so, be able to train those different ways is important.
Man, I mean, it's great that you said that, because one of my principles that I train, and every kid I tell right off the bat, I train on 3 principles: base, balance, and footwork. To me, that's going to help you become an efficient basketball player. You got to have those 3 things. You got to have a solid base, got to have great balance, and your footwork's got to be impeccable. You look at the greats, Michael, Kobe, prime examples of guys fundamentally sound, but with great base, balance, and footwork, man. And I think that just goes a long
if
way.
you take out the first two, if
Right.
you take out one, base or balance, you probably don't have the other, right?
Exactly.
And so you definitely don't have, you definitely don't have number three. And so,
exactly.
It's funny how the body works, right?
It is, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. That's why I love what we do, man. A couple more questions here, man. I know you got a busy day, man, and it's a Friday. You probably got to get back on the field. But we talked about the it factor. Just comparing, pre-draft workouts as far as for you guys. Obviously, a lot of guys have pro days. I had a pro day last year. All 30 NBA teams came out. It's my second time having my own official pro day in for an agency that I worked with. Talk about how you prepare guys. Like, I saw Jake Fromm. I watched Jake with that Netflix quarterback. What's it? Quarterback QB1, I think.
Yeah.
So, so we used to watch,
there you go.
Yeah, we used to watch. I used to watch that and seeing him progress now, and going into his pro day and all that kind of stuff. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that formulates for you guys and how much that means for you guys as a company?
For sure. Yes. So pro day is an aspect of the pre-draft process, and we always say there's kind of three or four components, however you want to look at it. One is the All-Star game, right? So there's the Senior Bowl. It's actually down here in Mobile. It's the biggest senior All-Star game, kind of prepping these kids, getting them ready, and kind of it's an avenue where the NFL comes in and actually coaches the game. So All-Star game, then you have NFL Combine, right? And the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and every year it's usually kind of end of February. That's kind of the second phase of it. And then the third phase that is part of it is pro day. And so in sequence is probably the third thing that you're getting ready for, usually in March, sometimes in early April. And we've done dozens of them over the past, call it since 2013. And it's been fun, man. Everyone's different. I've had some pro days that, were called flawless, and I've had some pro days that I like to forget,
Yeah.
And just, it is what it is. I mean, it's somewhat of it is for the teams, for the NFL, it is a place to see a guy's motion up front, see how he works, see his arm live and in person. And then, see a little bit more of kind of what his skill set is. And then, the fourth phase would be kind of NFL meetings and team visits and stuff. But Absolutely. The pro day phase is a big one. And we've had some big pro days that really absolutely helped a guy's, draft stock. And so, a lot of people question Daniel Jones's arm in the draft process before he was drafted. And then we had a pro day that was really a big kind of showing on where he actually is, kind of where he was at the time, but also this guy is strong. He does have a strong arm. And, and so we were really able to answer some questions. And what I always do with pro day when we're building one is, what are your strengths? Let's show them, showcase them. And then what are not necessarily your weaknesses as much as what are people questioning? So you have to pay attention to those things without letting them weigh too much. But we'd be fools to not, answer those questions. And so we build workouts that would really be aggressive, down the field, stretching arms in a manner that would show, okay, this guy can do this over and over again. And then show a certain skill set, whether it be accuracy or arm strength or touch or timing and all these things. So there's a lot that goes into it. Everyone's a little different depending on who you got. This year, Jake Fromm's, I was at Georgia in Athens on a Thursday, right when they kind of started shutting campus down, where our pro day was the following Wednesday. And so we had to think fast, what do we do? So literally we ended up doing pro day at a high school field digitally. We had a great film crew out there, filmed it, and we sent it to all 32 teams, and it was great. I mean, Jake showed kind of how he's grown in the process. We were able to really kind of show his arm strength and put him through a workout. I want to say it was 65 throws plus or minus. So again, it wasn't ideal. We weren't able to do it in front of the scouts and the teams, but
Right.
we got it to all of them. We got great feedback.
Right. And you got creative. I mean, sometimes, in the pandemic right now, we got to be creative, I'm fortunate enough to always be on the move and training, and going to different locations. And I tell guys, this is a tough time. Like I had a young man right now, he was thinking about going into the pros and into the draft. And I said, this is a tough year to go into the NBA draft because they can't look at your footage. Like you were fortunate enough to show him, Jake's footage from, from the high school where you're at. These guys right now, they can't really show footage unless it was just straight college footage, and they can't show individual workouts, nothing like that. It's real tough right now. But, the best part for the process for me is that morning of the pro day, getting ready for it. And I get excited. I don't know about you, but I get it like a super adrenaline rush, man. And I feel like it's my pro day, and I'm out there and I'm getting energized and getting my guys ready, man. And I love that part about my job, man. I love it. I mean, I just seeing those guys.
Well, you take a lot of pride in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you worked hard at it, and you know how hard he's worked, and you know he's ready.
Absolutely.
And you know that he's going to go out there and put on a performance, and it's fun, right? I mean, I get a little nervous before pro days,
Absolutely, I get nervous and.
So I mean, you want it to go well, and so when you work hard at something, you want it to go well, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Hey, man. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you on my show. I know you're busy, and I appreciate you taking the time out to be on the Purposeful Grind podcast. Real quick, hopefully I'm coming to how far is Birmingham from you?
So Birmingham is 3.5, 4 hours at the most. We got a location in Birmingham. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I worked at Eric Bledsoe down there.
That way?
Eric Bledsoe is a good one of my good guys, and I was supposed to be down there 2 weeks ago, but the unfortunate, the school I was supposed to train out of, a lot of got some COVID cases and they shut it down. But if I'm in the area, I'd love to come down and check you out, man. 3 hours ain't nothing but a drive for me, man, if I'm from Birmingham. So I definitely come out there. I don't have much of an arm, but I'll definitely come out there and try to show you what I got. I can catch a couple.
Hey, man. Hey, look, you can teach me about base and balance, right?
There it is. There it is, man. Hey, David, I appreciate you, man. Stay on that grind, bro, and hopefully we'll meet soon.
JC, I appreciate you, man. Hey, keep up the good work.
You too, brother. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
All right, now. Bye.